Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to show you how to install n8n on an AWS EC2 server. Now, I just did a video where I show you why you should use n8n in AWS and all the services that you can use and benefits and security and so on. Now I'm going to show you how to do it. So in the first part, the core setup, I'm going to show you how to launch an EC2 instance, and then we're going to install Docker and then install n8n in Docker. And then from there, we're going to connect to n8n using a public IP address. And then the next part, we're going to create the professional endpoints. We're going to set up an application load balancer and then connect to it. So first we're going to create a target group. Then we're going to create an application load balancer. And then we're going to configure the security groups. And then we're going to remove the public IP and access n8n through the application load balancer only. But first we're going to look at some firewall application options that we can have in there. And then we're going to create an IAM role and attach that to the EC2. And then from there, we're going to attach that IAM role to the EC2, and then we'll give it access to an S3 bucket. And then from there, we're going to give n8n access to an S3 bucket. And then we're going to test the private network. We're going to use the EC2 metadata. We're going to get private tokens. We're going to use webhooks all through the application load balancer. So let's get started. All right, so let's get started. So part one of this video, I'm going to show you how to launch a server and get a basic n8n instant running on an EC2. And so what I'm showing you right here is we're going to take an EC2, we're going to start it up, and then we're going to install Docker. So I'm just assuming that you either understand about running n8n on Docker or somewhere else. You can use Node as well, but I'm assuming you already know all this for the most part. So I'm just going to run through the basics of how to do this, but this is basically how we're going to do it. Okay. And so before we do that, what I want to do is I just want to kind of review pricing as well. So there's several different kind of prices you can, or several different EC2s you can go with. And what I would usually do is I usually go with the T2 medium. And the reason why I do this is because I have n8n on it, but I also have other applications that run on it as well. And I have had no problems. My developers use it as well. And I use the T2 medium price right here. I have for one year reserved is around $15 a month. So it's not too bad. And of course, a lot of these other places where you have to host n8n, they require you to, pay for a year. So $15 a month isn't bad. And of course, you may have to pay for storage in AWS. You may have to pay for some other services in AWS, so you may be, paying around $20 a month as well. Okay. So what I'll probably do is launch one here. We'll call this, let's just call this n8n-server. Let's call it demo. And then what we'll do is we'll go, and you can pick, if you're used to Ubuntu, you can do Ubuntu. It's just some of the things to start this is going to be a little bit different, but I usually just go with Amazon Linux because it's just easy. And it's all set up and ready to go. And so here we got T2 micro, and I showed you everything. I usually think that, when you get at least you use 4 gigs of RAM. I think that's when things are easy to work with, or maybe two gigs. Like I said, I use 4 gigs just because it's easy. It seems to work better with a lot of different applications, but let's just start with the T2 small for now. The key pair, I'm not going to use key pairs. I'm going to show you how you do not need to use this at all. And you can get by without using this. And then what we'll do is, so we'll just skip this. I like key pairs, but it seems like a lot of companies that I work with that have problems because they have developers that come in and then developers leave, and nobody can find where the key pairs are at. And so we end up having to, take that EC2 down and start over with the new EC2. So, there's definitely ways to use this use the EC2 without the key pairs. And so that's why we're going to go without that for right now. Okay, so network settings, everything's pretty good here. We can just go here and edit this for the most part, but we're going to create a security group here, and we're just going to go ahead and call it, since we kind of already called it already, we'll use the n8n server.sg. And I definitely recommend using this, and I'll show you why. Whoops. So I definitely want to name everything as you possibly can. Don't go with defaults. And then the description, we'll just call it the n8n EC2 SG. Let's call it security group. Okay. And right now, we're to start with this. So we'll have an SSH, right? And so we'll put that in there. And of course, then we'll just go with anywhere, which we shouldn't do. But for right now, we'll keep it that way. And so there's going to be more we need to add, and I'll talk about that in here in a second. But if you SSH, you should definitely put in your IP address and not have it just go from any source. But we'll leave it from here from right now. I'll probably save the security for another time. The 8 gigs of RAM I'm sorry, the 30 gigs or 8 gigs of this is fine for right now. This is all we need for storage. Well, let's go ahead and launch it. Okay, so once again, it's just saying, hey, you sure about the key pair? Like I said, we'll get by without using it. Oops, there we go. And there we go. That's going to start up. Okay, so we've started this now. What we're going to do now is we're just going to connect to it and see if it works correctly. So let's just go ahead and click on the EC2 right now and take a look at it. So we have here, so we have the EC2 instance. Here's the name right here, which is important. You're definitely going to have this. If you imagine having hundreds of EC2s here, it'd be confusing if you didn't have the names in there. Okay, so we have a public IP address, and we also have a private one. So this is what we're going to do eventually is we're going to get rid of this public IP address. So it's going to be completely private. And there's the only way you can get through it is either through elastic load balance is what we're going to do, or SSH. And then we have the security. We don't have an IAM role, which we're going to add later. And then we have our security group called n8n. Let's just look at these. I have other security groups in here, but let's just take a look at, let me just go here and show you security groups. So I do security groups all the time, but you can see there's a lot of them in here that don't have names. And so you can see how this can get confusing over time. These Launch Wizard 2, Launch Wizard 7, you never know what's in there. And so you always want to kind of go in there and make sure that you add security groups in there. So I just wanted to show that real quick. My name is Dave Froz, and I'm an AI cloud consultant. I've been working in the cloud for over 15 years and have a great team that works with me on all sorts of web and AI development. So if you're looking for AI consulting, training, or development, cloud architecture, or security, or you just want to start your AI journey in the cloud, then click on my link below and schedule a time to talk with me. Okay, back to the video. Okay, now that we've set all this up, now we have to do is install Docker. So let's go ahead and connect to the EC2. And we'll just use this EC2 Instant Connect. Ideally, what in the best practices is to use like Session Manager to connect to this, or EC2, and not have to worry about the SSH. So we'll go and connect it in here. Okay, waiting for it to connect. Okay, so now we're here. You can see we're connected to the Amazon Linux part of it. So now what we want to do is we want to go in here and we want to install. Let's just do a quick update first. And once we do that, once we do the update, then we'll go ahead and do the Docker install. I'm just copying from my notes here. Okay, so now we'll install Docker, and that'll take about a minute or so to install. And then the next thing we're going to do then is we're going to start it, and then enable, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, it's all done. So now what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to start it. So let's go ahead and grab this. That should be good to go. Okay, it started, and then we'll just enable it. Once again, like I said, I'm just assuming that you've done this before, either on your local PC or somewhere else. Okay, so now we've done that. Now we're going to do it to where we're going to add the user, which is the EC2-user in the here. So you can see here that it's EC2 user. That's the name of the user. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of give an admin command, so we don't have to do sudo and everything else. So we'll put that in there and return, and that's done. Okay, so now we've done that. Now what I like to do is I just like to exit out of there and then just go back in and see. So we went out of there. I'll go back. Let's go ahead and connect to it again. And let's go ahead and connect. So before we do that, I just want to show you. So we've just added Docker. We're going to add n8n here in a second. But what I want to show is that what we're going to do to add Docker, this is a really simple run command with Docker. You can look these up. There's several different ways, many different flags you can add, like the E here. But we have to add this n8n secure cookie false. Basically, this is for login, and it's looking for a secure certificate. And since we do not have one, we have to put this in there to say that it's false. So once you have a secure certificate or anything else, you can then take this out and run it without this. So I just wanted to show you, this is what you're going to have to need. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and put this in there. We'll go ahead and run it. So first of all, it doesn't have it. It doesn't see it here in your local. So once it doesn't see it, that's why we got that first unable to find the image. Then it's going to add it in there, which it's doing right now. So this takes about a minute as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause this video. Okay, so it's all installed, and then we have our volume here is n8n data, which is standard. You see your cookie's false, so we've got all that in there right now. So now that we're all set and ready to go, what we can do is we can test it. So if we go back here, we can see the public IP address, which is 34. And we'll just go ahead and let's just copy this. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we'll go back in here, and then I'm going to put HTTP /, and then we're going to go, and it's on port 5678, right? So we'll put that in there. And it's going to look for a while. And of course, it doesn't support it, which is okay. That's what we know. And then what's going to happen is that it's not going to work, and it's going to stay here, and it's going to look up, because the reason why this happens is because we don't have port 5678 open. So what we'll do here is we're going to go into, let's go into the security group here and find this one. Let's go ahead and open a new link, new tab. And let's take a look at this. So here we have our inbound rules, right? So let's go ahead and edit these right here. What we have is we have TCP/IP 22, and that's all we have, right? And remember, if you're going to use SSH, you should use your IP address, but right now it's open to everything. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the port 5678. And once again, we'll do this. Even though this should not be done, this should be using my IP address as well, but we're just going to put this down for right now. So this is what we do. We'll go here, we'll save, and then it's all set. Now, let's go back up here. And they're just automatically reloaded, right? So now what we'll do is we'll put in our emails, and the password. And there we go. And so we're all set here. Let's skip all this. And now we have our n8n up and running. We can add anything new we want here. We can go to add a new workflow. Go here, and we're all set. So all set. We have our IP address right here. Everything's set up, and now we're ready to go. So the next part now is we'll add professional endpoints to this and add a application load balancer to make it more secure. So basically what we're going to start doing now is, now that we've got it set up, now we're going to start making it more secure and start using more services with AWS. So before I move on to the next part of this video, what I wanted to show you first is that I stopped the EC2, and you can see here now that my public IP address is gone now. Now that it's stopped. The private IP inside of the AWS stays, but this is disappeared. So now, what we had before is we had this IP address, the 34.215.179.148. So now if we go in here and we go ahead and start this, so we'll go here to start instance, what we're going to see then is that it's going to give us a new one, right? So now we're at 34.211.177.89, right? So it's different. So we've got a different IP address. So now if we go here and if we refresh this, of course, it's not going to work because now that IP address is gone. So we'll just go ahead and let this go for a second and then see what happens here. Okay, so there you go. So it can't be reached now because it's no longer there. So we'll go ahead and close that out. So you have, this is our new IP address. So that's, the nice thing about this is that you can stop this EC2 if you're not using it, but the downside is that you lose that IP address. So there's two things that you can really do here. One is you can give it an elastic IP address. And basically what elastic IP is, you can assign an IP address to anything. So an IP, that IP is given to you. Now there's a cost for that, but the nice thing is that you can assign it to an EC2 and that is good to go. And then if you, shut down that EC2 and then bring it back up, that IP address stays the same. Then you can also take that IP address and maybe give it to another EC2 as well. So let's just say you make some changes to an EC2 or whatever, you can just move that IP address to that. The other option, of course, is a load balancer, which is what we're going to talk about next. So you can set up a load balancer, and then that load balancer is then assigned to that EC2, not the IP address. So then, and of course, what we do later on is, like I said, we're going to move the security. We're going to get rid of the public IP address altogether and use just the load balancer. So let's go ahead and do that next. So now we're going to add an elastic load balancer in front of our EC2, which has, of course, the n8n on there. And basically what this does is just helps to keep it more secure. Like I said, you can get away with the IP address. If you want to use the IP address at an elastic IP, you can do that. Of course, then you can direct wherever you have a domain or whatever to that elastic IP. But we're going to make it even better. So what we're going to do is we'll put elastic load balancer in the front here. And then so now as we go, the EC2 will only receive traffic from this elastic load balancer. So right now we have ports open for 5678 and for the port 22 for SSH. But what we'll do then is we'll just assign it to where it just accepts traffic from the elastic load balancer. So what you could do though, if you wanted to go even further into that, if you want to make it secure, then what you would do is go to Route 53, which is Amazon's like domain management. And then you could get a certificate from AWS, which is free, that's the nice part about that. And you can take that, assign that to the domain that you set up here in Route 53, and then you can make all that secure here. So you can make it HTTPS coming in. The load balancer can actually remove the secure certificate and then make it HTTP, and you can go from there. So this is how you could set that up. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to go down here to a load balancer. Now, before we set up a load balancer, when you set up a load balancer, it's going to ask for a target group. So we're going to go ahead and set up a target group first. And a target group is basically setting up a target group. It means the traffic to the EC2 only. So we'll go ahead and create that here. So we'll go ahead and create the target group. It's going to be for an instance because it's going to be for the EC2 instance. So we'll go ahead and go in here. And our target group name, let's just go ahead and I'm going to copy, or actually I'll just type this in here. We'll just call it n8n dash instance. And then we'll go at target group. Okay. So that's going to be our target group name. Actually, let's go ahead and change this. I'm sorry. This is for the listener. We're going to do 80, but we're going to go ahead and change the port, this to a TCP. Or we can leave it on HTTP. We'll just change the port to 5678. Okay, so basically this is the kind of traffic, this is only traffic, so that won't accept any other traffic other than the 5678, which is what n8n is listening to. We'll keep everything the same here. HTTP1 will stay the same. The VPC, so this is basically the VPC that the EC2 is into. So let's go ahead and check that out here. So let's go back into here. Let's check out a demo. And let's take a look at the VPC that we are in. Okay, so we'll go to networking here, and there's a VPC. It's called 523. So we'll make sure that we're in the same one as 523, and it is. So we're good to go there. And here's where we want the health check. So we'll just say this is as the HTTP listener. You could put /health or something like that. I think n8n has one as well. You can check that out, but we'll see what is here, and we should be good to go here. So let's move me over here. And that's we'll go to, and it's running. Everything's good to go. And so now what we'll do is what it's going to do is asking for the target. So what is our target? And we have our EC2 running right here. server demo. Okay, so we're good to go. I added the registered targets down here. So it's down here, it's going. And so we'll just let that get set up. And so let's go ahead. And now we want to go to the load balancer. So now what we want to do is create the load balancer. And basically what we want to do is we want an application load balancer because we want to be able to, there's many reasons, but basically it's because the applications you could, there's other ones we could talk about later, but this is basically what we want to have right here. And in this, then what we'll do is we'll call this the n8n dash application load balancer, NLP. And then what we want to do then is we want to call this, when we set this up, we want to go internet facing IP4. We'll just go ahead, go here in the security group. So now the security group, what we want to name this, we really want to use a different kind of security group. So we don't want to use the default. So we'll kind of make a change there. So let's go ahead and create a new one here. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. Let's create a new one. And basically what we're going to do here is we'll call this our elastic load balancer dash security group. So we can know what it is. And then we get the VPCs, right? We're in the 523. And we're going to add our inbound rules. And so we'll allow HTTP. And then let's go ahead from anywhere. And then also that'll be enough. We'll just do that for now. And then we should be good to go. Okay, and then it's just asking for, let's say ALB security group. All the way down here. And of course, it's giving us warnings, which of course we never want to use. Allow it for anywhere with the 0 IP address, but we'll just do that for right now. Okay, so the security group is done. And then when we go back to the load balancer, let's go ahead and refresh that. And then we can go here and then we just pick. So this is one of the reasons why you want to have the, all these different wizards. So we put in here ALB-SG, right? So that we know that's going to be the one here. And then let's go ahead and add that there. Now we have the 80, and let's go ahead and add the target group in there, everything else. And so the other thing, we just will look at this, and I have this in my why, but we could put a firewall in here. And the firewall is nice because you can add all sorts of security like any other kind of firewall, but these are kind of the nice things you can add. You can add a cloud front to this as well. Let's just say you have something that's accessed a lot. You can put all this in here and, and their global accelerator. So these are the advantages that you can add. Of course, there's some cost to these, but this is just kind of the nice part that you can add to your load balancer. Okay, so the load balancer is set up. And before we move on, I just to add more security to the EC2, let's go to the EC2. Let's just go back here instead of going through here, the instance here, and then we'll go to our security. And we see our security group right here. And right now we just have our TCP 5678. So let's go ahead and change this here. So let's go ahead and edit this. And then let's change this instead of 5678. Let's get rid of this here. And then let's go to our Elastic Load Balancer. So basically what we're doing here is like now we just want to accept traffic from just this here. So this, I get this a lot. And basically what you have to do is you kind of just have to start over. So let's just go ahead and we'll delete this, add a new rule, and let's go custom. And we'll go 5678. And then now we can go back in here and we're good to go. So that's going to take care of that. So basically what we're doing is we're saying we want the security group traffic from the Elastic Load Balancer and nothing else. So now we just have SSH. If you want it, we can always get rid of this if you don't want to use it. And then we take traffic from the Elastic Load Balancer. So if let's just see if I can have a picture of that here just so you can kind of see what it's like. It's right here. So this is basically how we're setting this up. So we have a security group set up for the the application load balancer. And then we have a security group from the EC2. And so now, and these are the ports, but what we're seeing is that we only want to accept traffic coming out of this security group, port 5678 from here. So this is really sets up a great, the security that doesn't allow traffic from anywhere else. It can't accept traffic, and it only accept traffic from the load balancer. So now you have something kind of like a front door, and you can monitor traffic from the front door. You have no other ports, no other doors, coming into the EC2. Okay, so now we'll just go back and we'll just confirm that, save that here, and then we're good to go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and test it. Okay, so now we are in the load balancer right here. So let's go ahead and check. So when you go to the load or Elastic load balancer, and you see here that it'll create a DNS name. Now, if you had, you could use this for if you're in AWS Route 53, you could go ahead and point your domain to this A record here, and this is how you could get this to work. And of course, if you have your secure certificate set up, you could do that as well. So let's go ahead and test this out here. So we'll go HTTP because we don't have a secure certificate. And then we'll put this in right here. And we don't need to put port 5678 because it's already set up for that. And so we'll go ahead and put that in here. And okay, so we got the 503 unavailable. Okay, so let's check this out. So let's go into, we're in the load balancer. We have that here. And we could see here, let's go to target groups. And let's go ahead and take a look at that. And we can see here we have unhealthy, unused. Okay. And let's just check out the status of the details here. And what we have here is okay. So this has happened to me before. So basically what's happening is that the target zones are not in there. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So if we look at our target groups, let's go in here and see, let's go to networking. Okay, so let's go to our load balancers, and then let's click on this. Let's look at network mapping. Okay, so we have these two. I picked these two here, 1 and 4, but let's just check because we have to check to make sure that the EC2 is in that zone. So if we go here now, and if we check for networking here, we'll see what kind of zone this is in right here. And so we look at our subnet, and it's 1FF, which is we do not have in here. So let's go ahead, move me over. Let's move me up here. And let's go to edit subnets, and let's pick the FF1. Let's see what that one is. That's this one right here. So we'll go ahead and just take this one off here. We'll add that on there and hit save changes. Okay, so now we have that set up, and now we should be good to go. Yes, check out our target groups. Okay, now we have it's healthy. Now we should be able to go back in here, see if we can, and there we go. Okay, so it's set up, and it took a little bit to refresh the target group. So now we show that it's healthy. So the nice thing about this whole deal now is it's working. So we have it in here. So this is our deal. So now we have, let's just go back and just check this, just to show you the security that we have set up here. So let's go in our security groups, and let's just check the security group that we have so the security group we have set up for this one is we're getting the outbound rules. Inbound rules are this, we accept 80, and then outbound rules are only 5678. So there you go. So that's going to, and we have a target group that goes directly to the EC2, which we've shown that's healthy. And so we're good to go there. And so we have no problems with that showing healthy. And then what we do is we go to the EC2 and we look at the security groups we have for the EC2. We have a 5678 that's coming from the security group of the Elastic Load Balancer, and that is it. So that's the only traffic we're getting right here. And this is what we have here. And then we can just go back into what I had logged into the other day. Because yes, I'm doing this the next day, this part of it. See if I can remember my password. Perfect. Okay. And so here we are. We're back in here and we're all set. And so there we go. So now we're using this right here. So now what we could do, just to make sure, to make this even safer, is we could go in here to the EC2. Okay. And so what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and remove the public IP address, and then we'll show that it's secure. We'll get rid of the IP address here, and then we'll be able to show that it's deal. So in order to do that, what we have to do now is, so let's go ahead and go. So what we'll have to do here is we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and stop it. Now remember, if we stop it, what's going to happen is we're going to lose the IP address anyway, which is fine. I'll go ahead and pause it here, wait for it to be stopped. Okay, it's stopped. I had to refresh it, so that's why the green bar just disappeared. Okay, so now we've done that. So it's stopped here. We have no IP address has disappeared now, the public IP address. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go to the networking part of it, and then we're going to manage IP addresses. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to disable the allow the part of it where it says to, and I'll just check this right here. So auto assign public IP. So now we'll not assign a public IP address. You can also do this when you set up your EC2, not to do this, but we're good, but you can do it later. So now we're going to go here, we'll hit save and we'll confirm. Okay. And so now we'll go ahead and start this back up again. Okay. So it's set up here. So now we'll just go here. Let's go ahead and refresh this. Okay, so here we are. Now we're running again. So now let's just go here. We should be able to refresh this page. Let's just wait a second. It should be going here in a second. Okay, just to refresh. And what happened is that this took a little bit, but what we're waiting for the listener, because the target group listening right here showed that it wasn't healthy. And then, it was waiting because we have a time frame. So it was waiting for all that. And then now it's getting back in here. So basically that's what we're doing right now, is just loading it back up, and then we should be good to go. Okay, so we're good to go. I just changed the workflow here. So now we're fine. We're set up. Okay, so we got everything. Let's just do let's go to a new workflow, and there we go. We can add what we need from here. Okay, and so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how we can send a document into here using this part right here, this domain, to show you that it's functional. And then the next step then is we'll add another IAM role that'll give this EC2 instance, which is n8n, access to, let's just say, an S3 bucket. So I'll work on that next. Okay, so now we've set up our load balancer. So we have our load balancer here. And in our load balancer, we set up our target group, shows that it's healthy. And then we were able to access the n8n on the EC2 using through the Elastic Load Balancer, application load balancer. And as we can see right here in the URL. So now what we're going to do is we're going to test it out and see how it works. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I want to send a document to, let's just say, to the deal. So we're just going to attach that. We should be good to go here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to send a document to here. Sorry. Let's cancel. So I'm going to delete this. So what we do is we need to set up a webhook. Okay, so we're going to do webhook. Put that on there. Okay, and so what we're going to do, the webhook, we have the local host and of course 5678. And this is not going to work because this is just if it was locally, just as same thing as if it was on your local PC. So what you would do is you would use, instead of local host 5678, we would use this instead. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go and set this up so we can attach to the, or we're going to we're going to set a document. I'm going to use Postman for this. So what I'm going to do here, so I have Postman right here. So what I've done is I have some documents here. So I use the body here. So I set this up and we're going to post to the webhook, right? So what I'll do here is we'll go back into the webhook and we have this amount right here. So we'll go and click on this. Okay. And then I'll put this back into here. And we'll go and paste it. And there we go. Now, what we need to do is we're going to need to replace this. Now, you can set this up in n8n by setting up a flag, and you can actually put in this part of the domain in there in the flag. So then it'll use that instead of localhost. But that's something that you can do, but we won't do that today. So anyway, I'll take this here, put it in here. And then we'll replace that right here with localhost. Put that here. And then let's paste it. All right, let's make sure I got everything right. Looks like it's good to go. And looks like I got one more here. Okay, I think we're good to go. Maybe we'll find out. Okay, and then what we'll do here, we have this set up here. We're just going to say it's all set up. We'll go back here. Let's just go ahead and hit execute workflow. Let's go ahead and send. Let's move this over so we can kind of see. Send. Okay, it looks like, so I'm pausing here. Let me see what, I'm sure I did something wrong here. Oh yeah, okay, so we have a post here. So let's go post, sorry. And let's go ahead and put that in there. Let's get this back up here. So we're gonna hit the Greg Medical. Let's go back here to execute workflow. Let's go ahead and come over here and hit send. Okay, and there we go. We have Greg Medical Scan. So there we go. So now you can see that we sent it to n8n using the application load balance to the EC2 into n8n. And that was basically just using a simple post. All I did was send a form data, sent one of my forms here. And then I used the application load balancer URL. And then of course, and then everything after that was from post here. So now you can see that it's actually working. We're getting a flow to the n8n from the load balancer. Now in this final part, what we're going to do is we have the application load balancer connected to n8n. And now we're going to do is we're going to go to the IAM Identity Center. And this is just what it means is it's identities, and it allows certain people, services, whatever, access to certain things as well. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give access or assign a role to the n8n EC2 server. We're going to give it a role so then it can access something else. So by giving it a role, we can either allow it access, we can deny it access, and go from there. And so basically what we would do then is that we would give it access, and then we're going to give it a role, and we're going to give it access to give access to the S3 bucket. And I have a folder built in there or created in there. We're going to give access to that S3 bucket and only that S3 bucket, so it can go back and forth in here. So we're going to go ahead and set up the role, and then we're going to go ahead and test it out. Okay, so first what I want to do is let's create a new workflow, and we'll leave without saving. Okay, and then we'll go here and we'll just trigger manually. And then we're going to go to, so the nice thing about AWS is that there's several nodes that you can use, as you can see right here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the S3, and we're going to check out the files in a bucket, right? And so what we have here, I have a bucket right here called n8n library files, and I've sent files from here a while back. I set up a bucket here and sent some stuff, which I'll show you the node for the workflow that I built. But for right now, let's go with this one. And so the bucket name we'll put right here, and then we'll get many. Let's see, return all. And I went ahead and set up a credential, but you can create a new credential. A nice thing about this too is if you have the enterprise version, which can be a little pricey, you can actually use the manager, a password manager, store key, and so on. You can store stuff in there. But since I already had and put that in there, we'll go and cancel out of there. And I have an account right here. And we'll go ahead and get this up in here. And then we'll just go ahead and hit the workflow and then check it out. And here we go. So we've got everything. We got the cyber risk, and we can kind of check out other ones, all the different files in here. So you can see here that we have a cyber risk assessment. Here's a cyber risk assessment right here, and then the other buckets as well. So you can see this works out great. Now this can be done from anything. This can be done from a local PC. It can be done from anywhere. The good and the bad is that, and by doing this, you have to have access keys, right? So you create the access keys, and that's what's in there. And ideally, we want to try to do that without having hard coding these access keys in here. And we're going to take advantage. What I want to do is I want to take advantage of the service, the EC2 in n8n on EC2 inside an AWS account, and give it and show you how we can do this without creating access keys. And use the services in AWS to do this. So what I'm going to do now is I'll show you. I uploaded a one in here that I did a while back. Oh, let's see, that's not it. Let's go here to here. Okay. So basically what this is doing is that we're going to use a service that basically what the service is that we're going to give it, we're going to use the meta service to get a token, an API token. So that's basically what it's doing. This is so 169.254, 169.254. That is the way to get meta information from this EC2. This is a great quiz or exam question if you're taking the solutions architect associate or professional. This question comes up at least once, if not maybe twice in the exam. So this is something you might want to get to know. And so basically what this does is this uses the information to get the token. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the token. This token is going to expire in 6 hours. Is what we have here. So once again, great way of doing this. It's a token that's going to expire, which is what you want to do. So if you do have to set up something, you want to definitely put a date, expiration date on it. So that's what we did there. So it's going to do that. It's going to run this. And then what it's going to do is it's going to get the role from the EC2. And then once you have the role, and it's going to get the token from the past one. And what it's going to do here is we're going to get the IAM, and then we're going to get the security credentials and get the name of the role from it. So basically with this, you can get, with the role, you can get all sorts of different information. You can get the instant ID. We're going to get the IAM role credentials. You can get network information and security groups and so on. Once you have the token, we can get this kind of information. Let's go ahead and run this. Okay. And there we go. So now we go here to the token, and then there's our token. That's a temporary token that we have set up. And then what it's going to do is going to take this information, that data. We'll go into here, and we'll take that data, which is here, and pass that along in the header parameters for that token. Now it says here, the resource here, there's this IAM role is not there. Okay, so let's go back to the EC2. We'll go back here. Okay, and let's go into security. And then we can see right here, there's no role attached to this EC2. So now what we need to do is we need to go into the IAM roles. So let's go ahead and do that right now. We'll go here. Let's put in IAM. And let's click on roles. And then let's create a role. Okay, so now we have, what I'm doing here is I just want to make sure I have the right name of the role. Okay, so what we want to do is it's an AWS service and choose a service. And we'll just say this is EC2. That's basically what we're doing is we're giving this a role to the EC2. And for right now, what we'll do is just hit next. And then we'll just put EC2 assume role, and we'll just leave all this blank for right now. We'll just leave that set up for there. Create role. Create the role. And then we're good to go. So we created the role. Now what we'll do is we'll go back to, let's go back to the EC2. And let's go ahead and assign. So we have to, now we have to just go in here and assign the security group to that instance. Or I'm sorry, modify the IAM role. Okay, we'll choose that role and we called it the EC2 N3 right here. And then let's go and update that. Okay, so let's go back to security. There it is right there. It's attached to it. So now let's go back to our n8n. Okay, so now we ran it. And so we can see that it has the role. The role is in there, right? So we went in here. Here's the EC2 role that we just assigned to it. That's in there. And then we were able to upload a file. And then also we have the list files here as well. Now, the reason why this happened was because I had the hard credentials in here. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to use this as a dynamic. So let's just say we're not going to use our AWS account. We're going to create a new one. So we're going to go here and create new credentials. And so what we're going to do now here is we're going to use what's in what we have set up. So, and we're going to have a temporary security credentials, and that's going to be set up as well. So what we'll do is we'll go in here. Let's go ahead and let's go and do this. Okay, so I have two running here. I had to pause it for a second. This is taking a while, but so, and then I went back and looked real quick, and I was just messing with this, but you can see that here's my CPU utilization, and that's why it goes. And so remember, we set up a T2 small, right? So I would say that the T2 small is probably as small as you want to go for setting up anything. And the T2 medium is probably, that's what I've used before. It works pretty well, but you can see here that we've kind of spiked up with that. So that's why I had to pause it and wait for it to come back. So anyway, so we'll go in here. Let's go ahead and create a new credential, and we'll call it AWS. And then we're going to go, I'm in the West. So we'll go in US West 2. Now, what we do here is we're going to do more of an expression, right? So what I want to do is I want to go into here. Okay, so I had to pause this real quick and I came back. And so I figured what I did wrong. Now I could delete this part of it and redo this, but at least you guys can see what I did wrong. Some of you watching this may be yelling and knowing what I did wrong. But so in this S3 auth node here, you can see that I put the access key. I set the access key here for the credentials, the secret key, and so on. What I was doing is I was taking this here, which is how it's set up in here in the JSON, right? So that's why I was making right here, but we're changing that secret access key to secret key. So that's why it wasn't working in their credentials. So what I'll do then is I'll go back up here, edit that, and then we'll just change that to each one. So this one right here was secret key. So what we'll do here is we'll change that to key, and then I also had it to yeah, let's change it right there. There we go. So so there you go. So we have that right, and so there it is right there. And then same one with down here. This was token. This was called session token. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. So there we go. There's a session token there. So now this works correctly. So basically what I'm doing then is I'm using these access keys and they're dynamic, right? And then this is going by the session token, which is 6 hours. So this is the great way of setting this up. So that's why it's a temporary. You can set it for more than 6 hours, of course, but just wanted to show you how we're doing that. So now what we're doing is that we're using everything from the metadata that we get from this EC2, then we get the role, and then we get the access key and the secret key. And then what we're doing here though, is that what I'm doing is I just set up a real quick text file that says, this information right here, which we'll check here in a second. And then I'm putting the current time as well. So we'll go ahead and then check that out, right? So we'll go back here. Let's go ahead and run this. Well, let's see what happened here. Okay, right. So this is a good point here. So this doesn't have access to the bucket here. So let's go ahead and fix that. And the reason why I just want to make this clear too is that I was just thinking of this, is that my other access key that I set up has admin access, right? So that was me with the access role. Now we're doing the EC2 role, and that EC2 role has no permissions at all, right? So what we'll do now is we'll go back in there and assign permissions for it to access the S3 bucket. Okay, so here's the EC2 role. Let me just go back. Actually, let me just cancel this. Let's go back to the instance. And let's go to security. I must go that way. So we go back here. That's where I was before. I just want to show you how to get there. And so now what you do is add a policy that'll give us access to that S3 bucket. And so what I have is I created one here. So let's go ahead and just copy that here. We'll put that here. Let's put that in here. And there we go. So now basically what we're doing is we're going to allow to get information, delete, get, and so on. And also the list. And then and it's going to be for the n8n binary files that we have in here right now. So we're going to go ahead and attach this to this role, and then that'll give the EC2 access to that. So the policy name, we'll just give it, how about EC2? Let's go EC2 n8n S3. Okay, so there it is. It's in it's assigned to that role. Okay, so now we've got that set up. Okay, so let's go ahead and just test this through now. We'll hit test. Everything worked great. Everything success here. Let's go back. List files. Let's go down here to the last one. We have 655. So let's go down here to, let's see. We have here 655. Sorry, we want to open it this way. Let's open it. And there we go. So hello, n8n. Here's the time that we put in here. So let's go back. We can check it out here. And there it is right here. So that's what we sent in there. So anyway, that worked fine. So now you can see that we have access to that. So if we put, if we go in there and start taking out let's just say we want to take, so you can't do any kind of a put deal in there, then we can look at that and modify it or whatever. But you can see here, so we have the put object. We can take the put object down and won't be able to do anything. And but what it's doing here is it's giving us allow all this information and then allow list bucket, get bucket, and so on. But it only allows it for these binaries. So if I go and change that, to something else, let's just say we want to go here to take out that 5, and then we'll go ahead and hit next and save changes, right? And then I go through here, go back, and then I hit run. right? Now we're going to get a problem because I took away it's forbidden, right? So you can see here now that the whole point of this is to show you what we got a lot of things going on here. One is that we have getting a token using the EC2 meta service, right? The 169.254, and that we're getting that information, then we're getting the role, then we're getting the access. So this is all dynamic. It expires. So that's the one big security thing we have going on there. And then the next part is we have a role. We're getting the role, and that role, then we're giving that role to the S3 bucket. And so that by giving the roles here, this one, it only has access to that bucket only, and that's how you want to set that up. Now you can go in the bucket and do the same thing. We can go into this bucket and we can assign permissions and give it access to say, I only want to have traffic from the EC2 as well. But that can be done from anywhere. That can be done from your local n8n as well. So anyway, so the whole idea here is just showing you how all this works, how we can get through here. So what we did is we created a file, we uploaded it, and then we also did a list of all the files, and we showed you how it worked. And it was all done by temporary permissions that was done through the meta services of the EC2 services. So I hope you have a better understanding of how to install n8n in AWS. It's a great way to use n8n. It's not very expensive. And you can also see that there's great options for security. Like we use the application load balancer. That's like the front door, only allows traffic to that EC2 or n8n. And then also when you're in the environment, we only give access to the n8n to a certain S3 bucket. You can do, there's all sorts of services you can use that will give you access. You can have access to, you can deny access. If you have a customer that has data that you can only wants to be in a private area, you can do that in AWS. The options are endless. So if this is something that you want to do or do for a customer and you need our help or need my help, you can reach out to me at digital6.tech, or you can look for the link down below. And be sure to like and subscribe to this video. And if there's any other videos that you want me to do, be sure to leave a comment below. Thanks.